Oh God. That is plush!
Last year, Brent from Avant showed us how to lead rope solo, where you anchor one side of your rope to the rock, and you belay yourself essentially while you climb by yourself, safe-ish. Now in climbing, usually the belayer makes the catches a little bit softer, but lead rope soloists for years have been trying to figure out a way to make their catches a little bit softer as well.
So when you lead rope solo and fall, you get spiked. There's no belayer movement to absorb energy. So I created this rubber widget called the Comfort Catch Absorber to give you a softer catch. And I know it makes it more comfortable, but Ryan cares about numbers. So we're gonna get some numbers with this line scale. First test is with 2 plush bands. So that's about the right calibration for my weight. If I were to take a big winger at the 4th bolt.
Whoa, how comfort was that?
That was comfortable. And I don't want to do it without those bands. Oh man.
The rope looped around the tripod and took it with it.
I don't need a line scale to be convinced, but I do want to see you take a whipper without those.
So you have compact and plush. Why do you have 2 different sizes? And how many of these am I supposed to use?
2 different lengths that pair with 2 different slings, so they give you a different amount of travel.
Make sure you use the right sling with the right...
Yes. So this one pairs with a 90 centimeter sling, and this pairs with a 60 centimeter sling. To mix units, that gives you 13 inches of travel or 20 inches of travel.
Okay.
Plush is going to be your daily driver. Compact is really only in select scenarios where bulk matters or weight matters. Multi-pitch climbing, or if your anchor setup is such that there's not enough distance where your plush will bottom out.
So when do you use 1 versus 2, and do you ever use 3?
So when you build up your absorber assembly, you choose the number of bands, primarily based on your weight, but also based on the rope drag scenario of the pitch.
How do I know how much plush I need for my weight?
So similar to general suspension theory for, say, a mountain bike, you want to set your sag. So if you statically hang on the system, it should sag about 30% of the travel. We could go test it out and see how it works for your weight.
All right, let's go do that. I have here the setup that you need, because you don't just use this. Please, for the love of God, use a sling.
Backup sling mandatory, and it needs to be the right length paired with the device.
Because once this stretches out, wow, I'm not that strong.
The oval shape works really well with building up your sling band combo.
Because I might be adding another one here. Later in this video, we're going to talk about why you won't use this as a shock absorber for marginal placements like you would a screamer. You're about to see why in a minute. Hopefully not because I lose teeth. You put it under it. Science. Oh, freaking A. I don't get this much anxiety when I aid climb. And like a normal bolt in a rock, you could trust. But this isn't a 2x4, and I don't know how the 2x4 is attached.
You're making it look like you're afraid of the band breaking, but...
No, I'm afraid of the band not breaking. I'm afraid of my bolt coming out of my face.
That's 17 inches of sag, and we're trying to get to about 6.5.
So I need more rubber. Tell me if I'm 6 inches. It's about 5.
That's about right.
Okay.
So
Can I buy 1.5?
you can't buy 1.5. I was trying to create a system that's good enough. You should know this philosophy. So
How good enough?
super good enough.
Just making sure he watches the channel. The idea is that you don't have a calculator at the crag. You are going to have rope drag. You're going to have variables that you cannot control. This is not an exact science. So you get something that approximates your weight. You don't want to bottom out on this too early, or you will have a hard catch. You don't want to have 3 of them when you don't need them, or you will have a hard catch.
I made a table for weight that tells you about how many number of bands you use. And once there's rope drag involved, just the stretch with no resistance eats up tons of energy. So often if you're falling higher up on a pitch, you reduce by 1 band.
What if you had no rope drag and you fell on a single one?
Oof.
If only we had a way to find out.
I'm gonna whip on a single band to show how the calibration does matter. I'm gonna bottom out a lot sooner, and it's not gonna be as comfortable.
You stoked?
No. You ready?
Oh, how'd that feel? Oh, you're bottomed out, yeah.
It wasn't too bad, honestly. It's better than without, which
Is next.
there you go. I made those rubber gadgets for a reason. I don't want to take this full. This is how we did it before. There's just not that much rope in the system.
It's like having a 900-pound belayer.
Okay, falling.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wasn't fun.
it wasn't fun. You're being a good sport about it. Here you go.
Do we want to put a bolt on the ground?
How much absorption is too much absorption? We've got the Plush, Compact Plush anchor absorption system. So sick?
I don't even know if it bottomed out.
No, that was casual. You go bigger than that.
Well, not too much bigger.
The reason why the Plush is the longest that we're selling is once you get a ridiculous amount of stretch, it does become difficult to pull back on.
If you just started climbing from there, would it matter?
I guess you could just buy 8 of them if you want.
Make it so you don't have to rappel at all by the time you're done. Do it. Wow. Yeah, it's lower and plush.
That was soft. That's as big as I'm gonna go today. Ryan, do you think they work? Do you want to take the fall?
I would if I
I've got
could.
an 8 ladder here. I can hang off that pole.
I can aid climb 511.
You said it was plush, and I have to use a Ryan-omometer to find out.
Never trust the inventor.
Right now we have 7 sex toys between me and having a good time.
The manufacturer doesn't allow that language.
You don't know knots, tie yourself in a couple. Oh God. That is plush! Still a whipper, you know? It doesn't take away the fact you're falling. That was plush. I would only use 7 of these or more. That was gnar that you did that without the plush.
There's Ryan's ladder hanging in space.
I left my dignity up there.
All right, so I like numbers. We got our numbers, but our numbers don't tell us how it feels. I didn't have the jarring test. I wasn't willing to be the dummy for that. You had all of them.
Yes.
And your numbers aren't that different.
But they felt very different. You probably could hear it from the wind being knocked out of my lungs as much as anything. But you really do get a So with no absorber, you're going to be a really steep curve going from nothing to peak force, and you're just going to get jarred. This is actually called jerk in physics terms. The absorber gives you more time, and I think it gives you naturally time to brace.
Wouldn't be a How Not To episode if I didn't bring up a rope swing I did, so I still sound relevant. When we did a really big rope swing, we got 5 kilonewtons on the person.
It was probably comfortable because you had time to...
Didn't hurt. We swung,
Brace.
you know, because we can't use metric, we swung 2 football fields, and it took 7 seconds to fall. Then the rope's catching about 5 seconds in, it starts to catch. So it's a full 2 seconds for the rope to stop you going down. But if I fell on my personal anchor and got 5 kilonewtons,
Ouch.
yeah, you might actually get injured if that was the case.
Peak force is different than comfort because the rate of getting to that peak force can really be different.
So I wanted to stitch together, get it? Why you don't use a screamer, which is a shock absorber, in place of where you typically would put this at that first bolt. I asked him why while we were there.
I had 2 reasons, and then I found out a third. One, it's not reusable. How many times do you fall? Just once on a hard sport route. And then second, for soft absorption for any fall throughout the pitch, the absorption device needs to be at the first bolt, at the anchor. The screamer is calibrated to be at the piece, which sees a much different force. I think it might not even scream.
Or you could just take a whipper and find out. Let's see who screams first. The screamer or Brent? Ready? Yep, do it. Oh! That was the hardest catch of the day.
Why don't you use the screamer for your sport proj? That's why.
I really thought the screamer was going to scream a little.
Yeah, I didn't do shit.
But why don't you use a lead rope solo absorber as a screamer?
Because these aren't cheap, and if you're blowing a piece out every
Yep.
time, could I use a rubber piece on a marginal placement?
The rubber is storing energy, so when that marginal piece blows, it's gonna come slingshotting at your face and take out a tooth. Where the screamer isn't storing energy in that same elastic way.
It would take out your face. maybe all your teeth.
Instead of a small nut in bad rock, we have this 0 kilonewton carabiner. 3, 2, 1.
Our bungees hit my rock in the face. Not a life-supporting carabiner.
And not shock absorbers for marginal placements. These do absorb shock if clipped to a protection bolt, but because it's at the protection bolt and you get the 2-to-1 effect, we're gonna need a lot of rubber. So to catch this rock simulating a heavy climber, we're gonna be looking at about 5 bands is my guess. Will it reduce the force?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, is that plush?
That looks pretty plush to
That
me.
looks plush.
Best case, you use that entire elongation, and right at the bottom of your fall, you hit the limiter sling, and that looked pretty close. I think 5 bands was about right for this rock. But that's a lot of rubber to be carrying on lead. That's pretty impractical. I think you're better off with a screamer. If you have a belayer, they can compensate for softness way better than that device.
That's true.
Good.
So then you're talking soloing, and if you're soloing, the device should be down here, and then it works on all the pieces.
Put it where you intended
Yeah.
it to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't pay attention to numbers when I designed this thing. I knew that the peak force wasn't the number that mattered. I was the test dummy. I was out trying all these different samples, materials, stiffnesses.
Do you have a line scale?
No.
That's why you didn't care.
Where do I get a line scale?
On Onto.com, you can get a defender for it too, so you don't break them like me. You can also get one of these machines later too, but until that's available, we'll just pull this for you. We are going to pull this to the length of the sling you designed it for,
Yes.
and it's supposed to retract all the way back.
I pushed the limit in this design, and I'm trying to make it stretch as much as possible right up to that permanent deformation line, and it makes sense to go past it a little bit than to try to save material.
This one right here is one that we've used, and you can see this is a new one. You can see that this one's longer. Also, we've used this one, and you can see this one's longer. But this is the sling length it's intended for, and that's the sling length that's intended for. We're gonna go to force because the sling's not gonna break at 4 kilonewtons.
So we're just testing a pull where we pull the absorber to the correct sling length. The suspense.
That is the sling engaged after 1 kN.
We're getting nice linear stretch up until we hit the sling and bottom out, and then force peaks. So you do get some permanent deformation when you pull them once, or you stretch them once, and then they break in, and they're steady for almost infinite cycles. I've tested hundreds of cycles, and they don't break. So to get to this rubber, I tried about 12 different other engineering grade TPUs.
This isn't from PetSmart.
This is not from PetSmart. This isn't just silicone rubber. This is some pretty expensive, high grade, kind of dampening and energy absorption industrial TPU.
How many different shapes did you try? Did you have a ton of iterations?
It took a few different molds to get this to work right. There's a stress concentrator in the eyelet. So the eyelet is what wants to blow out, but the problem is if you make this too thick, it won't fit on a carabiner. I was trying to make this assemble really nicely with off-the-shelf standard climbing equipment.
Why is your shorter one skinnier?
Let me draw a graph. We have travel distance and force. I had to choose between the peak force being the same for these two devices or the spring rate being the same. And what I chose was the spring rate. So the Plush ends up being a little bit stiffer at its end range. Since these are different starting lengths, you actually end up with less material to be on that same spring rate curve. I recommend using the Blue Ice slings that have these sewn eyelets. Open slings are just more likely to tangle, more likely to come unclipped, and are just a messier package.
So we will not see 1 kN before it hits the sling because it's not trying to hit the
It's not-
same peak force. It's
No.
trying to hit the same curve.
Yeah.
So our last point before it started going up was 0.7.
I cared about comfort, and these were designed by trial out in the field, and I know they make a huge difference.
Do you think this will bottom out before this rubber breaks? Let's take the sling out of it and find out. I don't want to go
Wow.
more. I mean, that's slightly more than a meter. 40 inches is what I meant to say. I think we're gonna have to go to our other machine. If you want your compact to now be a plush, just grab one of these machines at slacksnap.com.
So this permanent deformation is exactly why I don't recommend stretching it 1 meter to a limiting sling. We're trying to keep it in an elastic range where it can go infinite cycles and not break and not permanently deform.
I have pre-tensioned this so I don't run out of stroke on the machine. Let me show you it break. 2.15? That's pretty good for 0 kilonewtons.
Silly putty. Oh my gosh.
Highly engineered silly putty.
The eyelet broke. The eyelet always breaks. Like I said, it's a stress concentrator.
I'm gonna forget this was the compact version when I hang it on the wall here. When you watch future videos, you'll see that sitting behind us. Wow, it is. Holy moly, it's the same length now.
That's confusing.
Hey, we should break that.
You might not be able to break that one.
No,
No way! It's as long as the machine goes.
We're so close, it's at 2.5 kilonewtons.
That's when it breaks.
Before. Wow. That does look like silly putty.
Yeah, if we can pull towards, there we go.
Oh yeah, we had to eliminate that one section. It didn't break. We're at 2.97. This is where the gold carabiner started, and this is where the gold carabiner ended. Well, about 1 foot to about 7 feet.
700% stretch.
You want to use the right length sling, and you absolutely must use a backup sling. This is not a PPE device.
No science is complete though without a drop test. 2, 1, drop it. That is so cool.
Back up your bungees. 0 KN.
This one broke. This one didn't. And this one's shorter.
The permanent deformation after the drop test
It's minimal.
is minimal,
It's minimal. It's nothing.
which means for rubber, the rate of forced loading makes a huge difference.
But I find interesting that it broke at 2.5 kilonewtons, which if you're seeing 3 or 4 kilonewtons falling and you were to only use one of these and no sling in the backup, you would literally break it and die.
That's why you use rubber where rubber belongs, and where you use screamers that doesn't help screamers where screamers belong. But if you're somehow at the end of this video and you have no idea what lead rope soloing is, Brent and I last year made an entire video about lead rope soloing and how the concept works as a whole, and you can go check out this video next. Thanks for watching.
This is how not to lead rope solo.